Grandma unearths a shocking secret about missing babies from an old convent. The attic was a dusty labyrinth of forgotten treasures. Marjorie, with her silver hair tied back in a loose bun, rummaged through the boxes, each one a whisper from the past. The air felt electric, charged with the weight of memories. Then she spotted it, a worn leather diary, its edges tattered and its cover cracked. Curiosity tugged at her fingers. As she opened it, a chill ran down her spine. The scent of old parchment mingled with something heavier, more foreboding. The first page read, "The Order of the Silent Waters." Marjorie's heart raced. She had heard rumors of this long-abandoned convent hidden at the edge of town. A place cloaked in mystery and whispered secrets about missing babies. She flipped through the pages, the faded ink revealing haunting tales of desperation and shadowy rituals. The nuns' words spilled like ink-stained secrets. The convent believed the pure essence of children could grant them power, twisting innocence into something dark and sinister. Each entry was a chilling account of crumbling morality, detailing how some villagers spoke of strange happenings on moonlit nights and the echoes of laughter that faded too soon. Marjorie's fingers trembled as she read on. We must safeguard our purpose. One entry described a cleansing ritual that sent shivers through her bones. Missing children? Marjorie felt a knot tighten in her chest. How could this have happened in their quiet town? She glanced out. The small attic window to where the convent stood stark against the dusk sky, a grim silhouette draped in secrets. With her heart pounding, she decided she couldn't keep this to herself. The truth needed to be uncovered. But who could help her? Just then, she thought of Aaron, the young journalist she'd often seen at the cafe, his skeptical demeanor always tinged with a hint of caution. Maybe he could see this unraveling mystery with fresh eyes. That night, under a sky heavy with clouds, Marjorie contacted Aaron. She could sense the hesitation in his voice when she urged him to meet. Residents of the town had kept their distance from the convent's lore, afraid of the dark shadows lingering there. But the idea of a compelling story seemed to spark a flicker of curiosity in Aaron. As they began their investigation, the warnings came. Ominous messages slipped under doors, shaking their resolve. Leave the past buried, whispered from the corners of the night. Shadows danced across their path, mingling fear with the determination to uncover the truth. Marjorie and Aaron were drawn deeper into a chilling web of history. Each revelation brought them closer together, yet pushed them toward a terrifying edge. They were now linked to the last known child of the convent, and what they discovered wasn't just a mystery about the town. It was something that struck at the very core of their own lives. Their fate hung by a thread as they faced the secrets hidden in the past and the danger that lurked in the present. What would they find when they dug too deep? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Marjorie and Aaron moved deeper into the tangled web of the past. Shadows slipped around them as they stepped into the chilly night. Each step towards the convent felt heavier, like the weight of 1,000 secrets pressed against their backs. The air was thick with anticipation, and Marjorie's heart thumped loudly in her chest, each beat echoing her fear and determination. They arrived at the convent's weathered entrance. The door creaked open as if it hadn't been touched in years. The smell of mildew and something pungent filled their nostrils. They exchanged hesitant glances, but there was no turning back. They stepped inside. The corridors were lined with portraits of stern-faced nuns, their eyes watching every move. Marjorie shivered. They wandered from room to room, the creaking floorboards beneath them like whispers of long-buried truths. They cracked the door to the chapel, its stained glass casting eerie colors on the walls. Then they found it. A hidden staircase revealed itself behind a loose panel. Marjorie's hands trembled as she descended, the air growing colder. At the bottom, they discovered a small room, barely illuminated by a single flickering bulb. In the center lay a dusty altar, surrounded by flickering candles that seemed to beckon them closer. Marjorie's breath caught in her throat as she spotted something on the altar, a bundle wrapped in a tattered cloth. She moved forward, her heart racing, and pulled it open. Inside, a small, skeletal book lay, but that wasn't the shocking part. It was what lay next to it that froze her in place. A locket. The locket oscillated between the two of them, as if picking a victor in some unspoken contest. "What is this?" Aaron asked, his voice a low whisper. Marjorie opened the locket. Within were 2 photographs, familiar faces staring back. One represented a young woman with striking eyes, a smile that bubbled with joy. But the other face... It sent a shiver through Marjorie. It was her own face, as a baby, with the same smiling eyes. "No, it can't be," she breathed, her mind racing. "This can't be me." In that instant, reality twisted. Doubt crept in. Questions bubbled too. The surface like a boiling pot. Memories she never knew flickered at the edges. The thought of being connected to this dark past sent a wave of nausea through her. Aaron's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. "Marjorie, do you recognize her?" His brow furrowed in confusion. Before she could respond, the room trembled. The candles flickered, and the ground beneath them shook. The altar cracked, and a hidden compartment revealed itself. Inside was a small, rusted key. It gleamed ominously under the dim bulb. Marjorie swallowed hard. "We need to leave." Her voice was barely a whisper, but a deeper voice inside her beckoned her to stay. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from the staircase they had just come down. The tension spiraled, and they both froze. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness, face hidden. Time seemed to freeze. "Who dares disturb the silence?" the figure growled, voice sharp as glass. Marjorie's heart raced, and a thought pierced her mind. Had they uncovered more than they bargained for? As the figure advanced, she could see the outline of something in their hand. Then, all at once, the world shifted. The locket slipped from her fingers and hit the floor, opening fully. In the chaos, Marjorie caught a glimpse of movement, a flash of silver under the hollow darkness. Her pulse raced. Who was this figure? What did they want? And most hauntingly, what sinister ties did they hold to her past? The shadows in the room loomed larger, and the air thickened as the figure stepped closer. Marjorie's mind reeled with possibilities. Trust shattered, and she felt a cold touch of dread settle in her bones. What horrifying truth would unfold if they moved forward? Would they be ready to confront the depths of this nightmare? The answers were just out of reach, swirling in the darkness around them. What was hidden in the depths of this convent would profoundly alter everything they believed about themselves and each other. Marjorie's heart thudded in her chest, pounding like a drum. The cloaked figure loomed closer, shadows melting around them. A mix of fear and determination swirled in the air. She clutched the locket tight in her trembling fingers, as if it could offer protection from the darkness closing in. "Who are you?" she demanded, fighting to sound brave. The figure didn't answer. Instead, the air grew colder. Breath escaped from Marjorie's lips in a visible gasp. Suddenly, the figure snapped forward, lightning fast, like a flash of lightning. It ripped the locket from her hands. "No! Give that back!" she shouted. But the moment the figure opened it, a gasp escaped their throat. The face in the locket didn't just affect Marjorie. No, it transformed the figure completely. The hood fell back, revealing young, striking features. It was a woman, familiar and just as haunting. Marjorie's breath caught. "Alice?" she choked, recognizing her long-lost sister, already fading into faded memories. But this was impossible. Alice had vanished. From the family home when Marjorie was just a child, swallowed by the stories of the convent. "Alice!" Marjorie reached out, heart racing. Confusion washed over her, mixing with disbelief. The eyes looking back held a secret too deep, a shadow dancing in their depths. "No, it's not what you think." Alice's voice quivered, both urgent and panicked. "You need to understand, it's dangerous here. They'll come for us." Who will?" Aaron interjected, stepping back slightly. His skepticism battled with concern as he studied the figure before him. But Marjorie's mind spun, trying to grasp the sudden twist. "The order. They won't let you leave, not with that," Alice said, lowering her voice. "I thought I was free, but I'm still trapped. I came back for you, to warn you." Marjorie felt the ground shift underneath her. "You know what happened? All those babies? You were here? How could you?" "I had to. It was the only way to survive," Alice snapped, her eyes wild with fear. "I didn't just vanish. I was taken, compelled." A loud crash echoed from outside, silencing the room. The floor shook beneath them. Marjorie instinctively grabbed Alice's arm, feeling panic set in. "We need to go, now." But before they could move, the hidden compartment in the altar gaped wider, its contents spilling out. A small porcelain doll rolled into the dim light, its eyes eerily lifelike. It seemed to whisper secrets as it tumbled, sending chills racing up Marjorie's spine. "Lead it!" Alice screamed. But the moment Marjorie's fingers brushed against the doll, an electric shock coursed through her. Images bloomed, flickers of memories, muffled cries, faces of missing children swirling around in her mind like a storm. Marjorie's vision blurred as memories of the convent flooded back. Laughing children, a hand reaching out to her. I remember them." But Alice shook her head fiercely, panic dancing in her eyes. "No, you must forget. We can't go back. This is not just about the past anymore." Suddenly, the walls reverberated with a cacophony of whispers, voices carrying ancient warnings, her name echoing. "Marjorie, Marjorie, you must choose." Marjorie's breath quickened. Choose? Choose what? The shadows pulsated, wrapping tighter around them as the ground trembled further. And the cloaked figure, the one who had threatened them, began to retreat, retreating into the darkness, disappearing bit by bit. "We need to follow him," Aaron yelled. But the urgency in Marjorie's gut screamed otherwise. She couldn't look away from Alice, the truth dangling between them like a frayed string, ready to snap. "Wait! What's your connection to them?" Marjorie asked, searching Alice's gaze. "What do you know about all of this?" But Alice's expression shifted from fear to something darker, caught between dread and determination. "You have no idea what you've uncovered, Marjorie. None of us do." Her voice trembled with a mix of warning and desperation. And just like that, the room exploded with a blinding light, pulsating and overwhelming, swallowing them whole. Marjorie felt the world twist, and her grip on reality slipped away. When the light faded, they stood alone in a different place, a barren field under a blood-red sky. Marjorie's heart raced. Where were they now? What choice lay ahead, and who else was watching? The shadows danced around them, and everything she believed began to unravel. Marjorie stood there, breathless. The blood-red sky swirled around her. A nightmare painted in colors she hoped were only figments of her imagination. Alice, her long-lost sister, stood beside her, but the confusion in her eyes didn't ease Marjorie's racing heart. "What is happening? Where are we?" Marjorie's voice shook as she looked around. The field felt wide and empty, a stark contrast to the claustrophobic chapel they'd just left. We're in limbo." Alice's words dripped with urgency. "They can sense us. We have to keep moving." A shiver raced down Marjorie's spine. Suddenly, the ground beneath her felt alive, pulsing as if it had a heartbeat. She grabbed Alice's arm. "Wait, you said you came back for me. But why? What did you do at that convent? What do you know?" Before Alice could respond, the air thickened. Shadows twisted and deepened, swirling like smoke. A deep rumble echoed from the earth beneath them, as if it had tired of their questions. Then, in a blink, the ground erupted. A massive fissure opened up, splitting the field. Marjorie screamed, gripping Alice tighter. She tried to pull them back, but it was too late. They were dragged toward the crevasse, the sound like screaming steel. "Hold on!" she yelled, but the terror tugged at her mind. Then a figure emerged from the darkness below, an apparition dressed in a tattered nun's habit. They rose like a ghost, an amalgamation of wild shadows and sorrow. "Marjorie," it rasped, voice hollow like the wind through a canyon. "You belong to us." Marjorie's heart sank. What did it mean? It wasn't just the past haunting her. It was the present, too. "I won't," she began, but the figure interrupted. "That which you have uncovered, your sister, the mystery of the order, you are woven into this narrative." The figure stepped closer, revealing a face that was unsettlingly familiar. It held the same eyes, the same smile. The realization crashed on Marjorie like a wave. "You're?" Her voice faltered. "I am you, Marjorie, the sister you lost, and yet—" The figure's gaze pierced through her, dark and knowing. "You were chosen, you had to forget. But you came back, and now it's time for the truth and the reckoning." Panic surged through Marjorie. She stumbled backward, but Alice caught her, and for a moment Marjorie's world spun. "No, this can't be happening." "What does this mean?" Alice shouted, voice trembling. Fear blazed in her eyes. "You're lying!" But the figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed around them like a melody of despair. "Lying? This is the reality. You've buried all of it. The laughter, the worship, the pain. You've been chosen to return and face your fears. Only then can you uncover the rest." Suddenly, Alice gasped, clutching her chest. "Marjorie, it's true. I always felt it." Tears brimmed in her eyes, shimmering like diamonds before they fell. "We were never apart. Not really. Marjorie's heart stopped. Pieces began to align painfully in her mind. Hidden memories, whispers of long-lost love, and the unshakable bond she had always felt with Alice. But a new fissure opened deeper within her heart, clawing at her. You mean I was involved in all of this? The Order? The missing children? Your essence is part of the sacrifice, Marjorie. You hold the key. The figure beckoned, extending a gnarled finger. To unlock your past, you must confront the dark remnants of your soul. And just like that, the world trembled again. The shadows thickened, swirling around them in a chaotic dance, whispers intertwining. Marjorie stood frozen, wrapped in doubt and terror. What had she uncovered about her past? What was Alice hiding? Her heart raced, a wild drum, echoing through the terrifying void that surrounded them, leaving her gasping for answers. In this moment of sheer uncertainty, an unquenchable dread wrapped around her. Choices hung heavy in the air, with Alice by her side, but the true cost was yet to be revealed. How far would they go to unearth the truth? And more hauntingly, could they escape the grasp of the darkness that bound them? Would they be strong enough to face the horrific legacy of the Order? The shadows whispered, and all Marjorie could do was listen. Marjorie stood there, breathless. The blood-red sky swirled around them, a nightmare painted in colors she hoped were only figments of her imagination. Alice, her long-lost sister, stood beside her, but the confusion in her eyes didn't ease Marjorie's racing heart. What is happening? Where are we? Marjorie's voice shook as she looked around. The field felt wide and empty, a stark contrast to the claustrophobic chapel they just left. We're in limbo. Alice's words dripped with urgency. They can sense us. We have to keep moving. A shiver raced down Marjorie's spine. Suddenly, the ground beneath her felt alive, pulsing as if it had a heartbeat. She grabbed Alice's arm. "Wait! You said you came back for me! But why? What did you do at that convent? What do you know?" Before Alice could respond, the air thickened. Shadows twisted and deepened, swirling like smoke. A deep rumble echoed from the earth beneath them, as if it had tired of their questions. Then, in a blink, the ground erupted. A massive fissure opened up, splitting the field. Marjorie screamed, gripping Alice tighter. She tried to pull them back, but it was too late. They were dragged toward the crevasse, the sound like screening steel. "Hold on!" she yelled, but the terror tugged at her mind. Then a figure emerged from the darkness below, an apparition dressed in a tattered nun's habit. They rose like a ghost, an amalgamation of wild shadows and sorrow. "Marjorie," it rasped, voice hollow like the wind through a canyon. "You belong to us." Marjorie's heart sank. It wasn't just the past haunting her. It was the present, too. "I won't," she began, but the figure interrupted. "That which you have uncovered. Your sister, the mystery of the Order. You are woven into this narrative." The figure stepped closer, revealing a face that was unsettlingly familiar. It held the same eyes, the same smile. The realization crashed on Marjorie like a wave. Her voice faltered. "I am you, Marjorie, the sister you lost." And yet, the figure's gaze pierced through her, dark and knowing. "You were chosen, you had to forget. But you came back, and now it's time for the truth and the reckoning." Panic surged through Marjorie. She stumbled backward, but Alice caught her, and for a moment, Marjorie's world spun. "No, this can't be happening." "What does this mean?" Alice shouted, voice trembling. Fear blazed in her eyes. "You're lying!" But the figure laughed. a chilling sound that echoed around them like a melody of despair. Lying? This is the reality you've buried. All of it. The laughter, the worship, the pain. You've been chosen to return and face your fears. Only then can you uncover the rest. Suddenly, Alice gasped, clutching her chest. Marjorie, it's true. I always felt it. Tears brimmed in her eyes, shimmering like diamonds before they fell. We were never apart. Not really. Marjorie's heart stopped. Pieces began to align painfully in her mind. Hidden memories, whispers of long-lost love, and the unshakable bond she had always felt with Alice. But a new fissure opened deeper within her heart, clawing at her. You mean I was involved in all of this? The order? The missing children? Your essence is part of the sacrifice, Marjorie. You hold the key. The figure beckoned, extending a gnarled finger. To unlock your past, you must confront the dark remnants of your soul. And just like that, the world trembled again. The shadows thickened, swirling around them in a chaotic dance. Whispers intertwining. Marjorie stood frozen, wrapped in doubt and terror. What had she uncovered about her past? What was Alice hiding? Her heart raced, a wild drum echoing through the terrifying void that surrounded them, leaving her gasping for answers. Then, with a jolt, Alice let go of her hand. "No!" Marjorie shouted. But it was too late. Alice stepped forward, the shadows swirling around her like a storm. "No!" Alice cried out, her face twisting in pain and desperation. "This is how it's supposed to be. I've shared your blood. Now I have to fulfill our destiny." "No!" Marjorie's voice cracked, her heart sinking. "You can't!" Alice's eyes glowed like burning coals as she turned to the figure. "I accept." Marjorie's world shattered. It was Alice, but not Alice. She'd never known this side. She'd only glimpsed the darkness buried beneath the surface, and now it was rising, consuming her sister. The ground shook violently, and the figure reached out, linking hands with Alice. "No, don't! You're losing yourself!" Marjorie screamed, lunging forward. The fissure widened, shadows reaching for her, wanting to pull her in too. With a final haunting smile, Alice whispered, "Trust me." "Marjorie, you'll see." And then they were gone. A blinding flash consumed them, and Marjorie found herself alone, trembling in the now quiet field. As the darkness receded, a heavy weight settled in her chest. What had she just lost? What did Alice really mean? Marjorie felt a cold. Sweat trickled down her spine. Where was she? What had just happened? What else had been hidden? The questions gnawed at her, leaving a desperate ache for understanding as the shadows crept back slowly, whispering her name. Marjorie stood there, breathless. The blood-red sky loomed over her, a nightmare painted in colors she hoped were only figments of her imagination. Alice, her long-lost sister, hovered beside her. But the confusion in her eyes did nothing to ease Marjorie's racing heart. "What is happening? Where are we?" Marjorie's voice trembled as she looked around. The field felt wide and empty, a stark contrast to the suffocating chapel they'd just left. We're in limbo." Alice's words dripped with urgency. "They can sense us. We have to keep moving." A chill raced down Marjorie's spine. Suddenly, the ground beneath her felt alive, pulsing as if it had a heartbeat. She grabbed Alice's arm. "Wait, you said you came back for me. But why? What do you know?" Before Alice could respond, shadows twisted around them, deep and writhing. A low rumble echoed from the earth, as if it had tired of their questions. Then, in a blink, the ground erupted. A massive fissure opened up, splitting the field. Marjorie screamed, gripping Alice tighter. She tried to pull them back, but it was too late. The ground shifted beneath their feet. "Hold on!" she yelled. But terror tugged at her gut. And then a figure emerged from the depths. A ghostly figure clad in a tattered nun's habit. It rose slowly, an amalgamation of shadows and sorrow. "Marjorie!" it rasped, voice hollow like wind through an empty canyon. "You belong to us." Marjorie's heart sank. What did it mean? The present was haunting her just like the past. "I won't," she began. But the figure interrupted. "That which you have uncovered, your sister, the order, you are woven into this narrative." The figure stepped closer, revealing a face that felt both familiar and foreign. The realization crashed over Marjorie like ice-cold water. "You're?" Her mind raced. "I am you, Marjorie, the sister you lost, and yet you were chosen." The figure's gaze pierced through her, dark and knowing. Time to confront the truth and the reckoning. Panic surged as Marjorie stumbled back. Alice caught her, but Marjorie's world spun faster. "No, this can't be happening!" Suddenly, with a gasp, Alice stepped forward. "I can feel it! This is how it's supposed to be!" Her voice trembled with assertion. "I came back for us. I need to fulfill our destiny." Marjorie's heart hammered as she grasped Alice's arm. "No, you can't!" But it was too late. Alice stepped toward the spectral figure. "I accept." She breathed the words like a spell. "No!" Marjorie screamed, terror flooding her veins. Alice's face twisted with purpose. The ground shook violently, and the shadow-clad figure reached out to Alice, linking hands. "You will awaken what lies beneath." With one final, haunting smile, Alice whispered, "Trust me, you'll understand." Then a blinding light engulfed them. When it faded, Marjorie found herself alone, trembling in an empty field. Where was Alice? What had just happened? But then came the whisper, a soft, painful echo wrapping around her. "Marjorie, you must listen." Something shifted, and the dark ground below her crackled with energy. Suddenly, through the fissure, a vision unfolded. Children's laughter, twisted faces, and dark shadows. An entire world of sorrow dancing before her eyes. "Stop! No!" She fell to her knees, the pain radiating through her chest. She couldn't breathe. And then, up from the abyss, something spiraled. A small porcelain doll erupted from the fissure, its glassy eyes staring up at her. "You have to remember. You have to choose." "Choose?" she gasped, feeling each heartbeat pound in her chest. "What do you mean?" But the air thickened as shadows pulled tighter, laughter echoing around her. The ground trembled, and Marjorie felt the earth threatening to swallow her whole. Just then, a low voice echoed through the void. "You have awakened the past. Now it's time for the final price." With a sudden jolt, reality shifted. Marjorie clenched her fists as the ground split wider. "What do you want?" And there it was. A towering figure emerged from the shadows, a dark silhouette spiraling outward. It stepped into the light, and Marjorie's breath hitched in her throat. It was a man, a face she recognized. But it filled her with dread. The one who had always been there, smiling, loving, her father. "Dad," she whispered, panic clawing at her. "You? Here?" He smiled, but it was not the warmth she remembered. A coldness wrapped around his words. "You came back to the truth, Marjorie, and now you must decide. Are you ready to reclaim your legacy?" As the darkness tightened around her, Marjorie's heart raced. What did he know? What had Alice done? What was this legacy? The shadows whispered. And all Marjorie could do was listen. Marjorie's heart hammered in her chest as she faced the shadow looming before her. The man she remembered as her father, yet twisted now, his gentle smile replaced by a cold grin. "You must choose, Marjorie. You've come to reclaim your legacy." The darkness around her pulsed, and dread clawed up her throat. This wasn't the father she knew. This was something else. She tightened her grip on her locket, muscles tensing as she prepared to stumble back. But a sudden movement caught her wide eyes. Behind the figure, Alice appeared again. "Marjorie, don't listen to him!" Her voice sliced through the tension like a knife, clear and urgent. "He's lying." Marjorie blinked, torn. "Alice?" Alice stepped forward, panic etched across her features. "I was never meant to be here. He has deceived us all." She pointed at their father, her eyes blazing with truth. "What do you mean, Alice? What did you do?" Marjorie's words rushed out, the panic clawing at her. But before Alice could answer, the ground trembled. The fissure quaked wider, shadows spiraling out like fingers reaching for her. The air crackled, filled with energy that made her skin prickle. Their father stepped closer, the shadow engulfing him. "You are part of this, Marjorie. You can't escape your fate." "No," Alice shouted, lunging toward Marjorie. "You were never meant to be part of this. He took us both. He wants to trap you, just like he did me." "Alice, please," Marjorie gasped, confusion wrenching at her heart. "What are you talking about?" Suddenly, in a flash, the figure collapsed into darkness, revealing a swirling mass of black smoke. Light flickered in and out, illuminating a scene that made Marjorie's blood run cold. Images tore through the swirling shadows. Children, lost and screaming. Twisted faces of babies longing for mothers, their cries echoing in her mind. "No, no!" Marjorie pressed her palms to her ears. But the weight of the truth crashed down on her, relentless. "The Order used you, Marjorie." Alice's voice broke through the chaos. "They've been waiting for you to return. Everything we've known is a facade." "A facade?" she echoed, betrayal racing through her veins. "What are you not telling me?" And then, with a dizzying rush, reality shifted again. The ground beneath them dissolved, pulling like quicksand. "No!" Marjorie cried, but the shadows surged, swallowing her whole. She felt weightless, suspended, in darkness. And then it all stopped. When the world solidified again, Marjorie gasped, her eyes flaring open. She was back in the attic, clutching the old dusty diary as if it laid claim to her fate. The attic was silent, still except for the soft creak of the old house settling. Breathless, she tried to process what had happened. Was it a dream? A vision? What was real? But it didn't matter. The diary pulsed in her hands, glowing faintly. A terrifying thought struck her. What if the answers lay within those tattered pages? What if she was more entwined with the convent than she had ever known? Marjorie turned the pages, her heart racing. Each entry felt like a spark, fueling her with courage. But in the midst of her search, a lingering presence brushed against her. The shadows from the convent whispered in the corners of her mind, taunting her. "Marjorie," they called, echoing through time as if the past had collided with the present. "You're one of us." A shiver ran down her spine. And just like that, her resolve began to shatter as the truth twisted inside her. But then came a knock, sharp and sudden, on the attic door. "Marjorie, are you in there?" It was Aaron. The cry for help brought a rush of both relief and urgency. But the shadows were drawing closer, tugging at her heart. What if she was meant to return? What if the legacy was hers to carry? "Marjorie!" Panic ignited once more as she sensed the walls closing in. Was she ready to face it? Could she handle the weight of the truth? What would she tell Aaron? Did he even know the reality of what the Order truly wanted? As the door creaked slowly open, dread flooded her. The moment of truth was upon her. The shadows grew thicker around her, and Marjorie couldn't shake the feeling that something dire was about to unfold. Whatever uncertainty lay ahead, she was ready to confront it. Or was she? Marjorie stood, heart racing, as she clutched the diary. The door creaked slowly open, revealing Aaron's worried face. He stepped inside, eyes darting between her and the room, sensing the tension in the air. "Marjorie, what's going on?" His voice was laced with concern, every word pushing it deeper into her gut. She hesitated, searching for the right words. Could she tell him? Would he believe what happened? Shadows loomed over her thoughts, whispering doubts. "Everything, it's all connected," she finally managed, breath shallow. "The convent, my sister, the Order. It's not just a story. It's real." Aaron frowned, confusion etching lines in his brow. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, a crack of thunder boomed outside, rattling the window. The lights flickered as the atmosphere grew thick and oppressive. She felt the weight of something dark stirring, and it sent chills down her spine. Suddenly, with a force that nearly knocked her off her feet, everything shattered. The room spun violently. Papers flew, candles snuffed out, and the very walls trembled. "Marjorie!" Aaron shouted, reaching for her, but his voice was swallowed by the chaos. Then, just as quickly, it all stopped. Silence wrapped around them, thick and heavy. The room dimmed, lit only by the pale moonlight filtering through the window. Marjorie gasped, her heart racing. What just happened? Aaron's gaze was fixed on the corner of the room, where shadows writhed as if alive. "I don't know, but we need to get out of here." Yet something pulled at her, making her stay. The locket hung like a weight around her neck, and she felt a surge of energy, a connection to the shadows. They called to her. "Wait," she said, feeling drawn to the darkness. "I need to understand." Without warning, the shadows swirled faster, and a figure stepped out. It shimmered and shifted, morphing into someone indistinct yet familiar. The air felt electric, charged with tension. "Marjorie." She staggered back. "No, it can't be." A lump rose in her throat as the figure took form. Her mother. Eyes glistening with sorrow, yet holding much more. "Mom?" It escaped her lips like a broken whisper. "Sweetheart!" she cried, arms outstretched. But Marjorie remained frozen. This was impossible. Her mother had died years ago. No, this couldn't be happening. "Why? Why now?" Marjorie faltered, voice trembling, caught in a storm of disbelief. But her mother stepped closer, and with every move, the room darkened. "You've uncovered truths best left hidden, my love. You have to choose wisely." "Choose?" Marjorie's pulse quickened. Confusion clashed with urgency. "Choose what?" "If you don't escape now, it will all consume you." Her mother's voice broke, as if each word bore heavy chains. "It's not just your sister, Marjorie. It's you. You are part of their sacrament, so very precious." "No." Marjorie screamed, rage and fear colliding. "I'm not part of anything! Stop!" Her mother's expression darkened, tears sparkling like stars. "They're coming for you! You have to!" But before she could finish, the shadows surged, engulfing her mother. "Marjorie! Run! Mom!" Marjorie reached out, but the darkness snatched her mother away, leaving only silence. Heart pounding, her world twisted again. "What just happened?" Aaron's voice trembled, hands clutching Marjorie's shoulders. But she felt the shadows wrapping tighter around her, pulling her into a whirlpool of truths she couldn't comprehend. I think I'm part of this," she stammered, breathless. I can feel it. The shadows pulsed around them, whispering promises of power and fear. Could her mother have known this all along? Who was she really? Erin squeezed her shoulders tightly. We need an escape plan, now! But Marjorie's gaze drifted to the locket, and it felt alive, thrumming with energy. What if what lay within was the key? What if everything she thought she knew was about to unravel? Marjorie, the shadows whispered like a lover's call. What will you choose? Breath quickening, Marjorie glanced at Erin, uncertainty swirling between them. The world felt like a mirror, cracking beneath their feet. What choice lay ahead? Could she trust her instincts? The darkness stirred again, murmurs swirling. And in that moment, she knew. Nothing would ever be the same again. Marjorie stood frozen, her pulse racing, as Erin's worried eyes searched hers. The shadows called to her, whispering their dangerous secrets. Marjorie, he pressed, urgency dripping from his voice. We need to get out of this place. But something held her steady. She felt the looming presence of her mother and the dark figure behind her, energy swirling like a thunderstorm. Waiting to erupt. Erin, I can't leave. I'm part of this, somehow. She clutched the diary tighter, its pages rustling softly, pleading for her attention. He frowned, stepping closer. What do you mean, part of this? We're in danger. The air crackled, and Marjorie glanced around as the shadows deepened. They twisted and danced, seemingly alive, awaiting her command. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the temperature dropped. Icy fingers wrapping around her throat. Every breath felt foggy, each heartbeat an echo of panic. Marjorie, please! Erin's plea jolted her. But before she could respond, the shadows surged around them, and a deafening roar echoed inside the attic. The walls rattled, the air thickened. It felt like the very fabric of reality was tearing apart. Marjorie clutched the diary, feeling the pulse of something immense within it, as if it were alive. Then, without warning, the shadows shot outwards, forming a portal, a swirling void that matched the blood-red sky. The surge pulled her forward, and with a gasp, Marjorie stumbled. "Erin!" she shouted, reaching for him. But just as her fingers brushed his, the portal opened wider, dragging them both into its depths. They fell, spinning through darkness. Time stretched, nothingness wrapping around them, suffocating yet exhilarating. Then, like a lightning bolt, a blinding light flashed. The world shifted again with a violent force, and they landed hard. Marjorie gasped as she hit the ground. She blinked, struggling to focus. They were in a different place, surrounded by a crowd. A town square bustling with people, faces shrouded in concern. It was a stark contrast to the eerie attic they had just escaped. What just happened? She murmured, stunned. But then she spotted something strange. Pinned to Erin's jacket was a small badge. The logo was unmistakable, the Order of the Silent Waters. Her heart sank. Erin, your jacket. How did you get that? He looked down, pale and confused. I don't know, Marjorie. I didn't put that there. Before she could respond, voices rose around them. Look, they're back! A woman stepped forward, face twisted in horror. Did you find her? Did you find the child? Child, Marjorie. Breathed, panic flooding her veins. What do you mean? The crowd turned, all eyes on her. She felt exposed, each whisper sending chills down her spine. The whispers grew louder, forming a chorus of confusion and fear. They know, a man shouted, pointing at them. The girl with the locket. They know everything. No, we don't. Erin began, but the crowd erupted in panic, shouting, pushing toward them. Run, Marjorie shouted, grabbing his arm. But just as they turned to flee, something broke through the heaving mass. It was a girl, young and wild-eyed. She rushed toward them, her hair disheveled, face streaked with dirt. "It's true," she cried, voice raw with urgency. "You have to come with me. They're coming for you." "Who?" Marjorie gasped, bewildered. And then the girl reached out with trembling hands, revealing a small, worn-out photo. Marjorie's breath hitched. It was a picture of her mother, young and vibrant, standing in front of the convent. But next to her, a baby was cradled in her arms. The baby had striking eyes. "Your mother was chosen," the girl whispered. "You don't understand. You were never supposed to leave. You must come back." Marjorie felt the ground tilt beneath her. "No," she cried, mind racing. "That can't be true. I didn't choose this." The girl's eyes burned with desperation. "You were sacrificed, and now they want you back." A crack of thunder echoed as shadows approached, creeping on the edges of the square. Panic mingled with the cries of the crowd. People screamed and scattered, darkness spilling like ink. Marjorie felt a chill, a realization hitting her like a brick. "Everything I thought I knew." Just then, the girl leaned closer, her voice urgent. "You have to choose, Marjorie. Will you reclaim what was taken, or will you let them extinguish your light?" And in that moment, Marjorie felt the weight of her past crushing down. Secrets, shadows, and memories flooded her mind. She turned to look at Aaron, desperation pooling in her eyes. What would she decide? And more importantly, what was the true cost of her choice? Marjorie's heart raced as the girl's words echoed in her mind. "You have to choose!" The shadows around her thickened, swirling closer, like a storm closing in. Every face in the crowd morphed into a desperate plea, a reminder of what was at stake. "Aaron!" she shouted, gripping his arm tightly. "We can't let them take us! We have to fight back!" With a surge of adrenaline, she stepped forward, the locket hanging heavily around her neck, its energy pulsing with each thump of her heart. "I refuse to be a pawn anymore," she declared, the strength of her voice trying to drown out the chaos. "This ends now!" The crowd gasped, confused whispers rippling through them. "She's lost her mind," someone murmured, but Marjorie wasn't listening. "I won't let the order dictate my fate." She felt the truth rising within her, a fire igniting in her chest as memories of laughter and love, a life waiting to be reclaimed, flashed before her eyes. Alice needed her, the children needed her, and she was done running. "Alice, I need you!" Marjorie called out into the encroaching shadows, her voice both a plea and a battle cry. The dark vortex hesitated, shadows swirling, as if reconsidering their next move. And then, as if summoned by her words, Alice materialized from the fray. Her expression was fierce, wild. The spark blazing in her eyes made Marjorie's heart swell with both hope and fear. "Marjorie!" Alice reached out, a hand reaching through the density of shadows, bright as sunlight breaking through clouds. "You have to stand firm, together." The moment their hands clasped, the locket flared with light, a brilliant beacon in the dark. Energy surged between them, a jolt of shared history, and Marjorie realized this was their inheritance. The shadows writhed, howling like banshees, lunging forward. But Marjorie stood her ground. "We are not afraid," she shouted, and the words resonated in the crowd, sending ripples through their fear. With a tremendous spark, the locket unleashed a wave of light, driving back the encroaching darkness. For a fleeting moment, Marjorie glimpsed the lost children from the convent, a fleeting essence of their laughter. They were free, and in that instant, Marjorie could feel the weight of their gratitude. All at once, The shadows recoiled, howls of rage filling the space as they buckled beneath the light. "You cannot escape your legacy," the spectral figure hissed, trembling. "Yes, I can! We all can!" Marjorie shouted defiantly, the warmth of Alice's hand fueling her spirit. The light expanded, bursting forth like dawn breaking the night. "This is our story, our choice," Marjorie cried, and as the brilliance erupted behind them, it consumed the shadows whole. A deafening silence followed. The town square, echoing with a profound calm. Marjorie fell to her knees, breathless, the light fading into a glimmering memory. She felt a softness, a shimmering warmth enveloping her. It was her mother's spirit, a flicker of love reassuring her. "All those lost, they're finally free, and so are you." Marjorie! The warmth settled deep in her heart. It was both an end and a new beginning. Marjorie looked around at the shocked faces of onlookers, the remnants of fear dissipating like mist. And as she met Aaron's gaze, she knew they had forged a new path. The legacy of the Order was broken. With a lingering smile, Marjorie turned to Alice, who held her hand tightly. They shared a sense of peace in the aftermath. The shadows were gone, and in their place lay clarity, the ability to choose their own destinies. Marjorie finally felt at home, wrapped in the warmth of sisterhood and the possibility of tomorrow. "Thank you, Alice," she whispered, tears of joy glistening in her eyes, "for coming." "Back for me. Always," Alice replied, her smile radiant. "Now, let's make sure this never happens again." And as they stepped forward, the world shifted yet again, but this time it was filled with hope. You have to subscribe right now to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm and flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. This is the moment to show your support, and only real fans understand the importance of backing the channel through these actions.